Hi everyone, I'm back on YouTube. My name is Seetal. If you don't already know me, I like to make stuff. I am very creative. I make sewing stuff, I paint, I do woodwork, do anything from creating, and sometimes I share a bit about things that I've learned recently. And welcome aboard to my channel. In today's video, I am going to make this dress, this tiered dress. I'm going to make this dress from two Uniqlo dresses that I already have. I have two A-line Uniqlo bag dresses, and I'm going to use both of them to make this one tier dress. I really enjoy upcycling old clothes or clothes that I no longer need or I've grown out of it, the size doesn't fit anymore. I love upcycling because it saves the environment potentially, and I'm really not spending any money going out shopping, so it's a win-win. Anyways, if you'd like to know how I made this tiered dress, please stick around and I will show you how I style it in the end. Bye! The first thing what I did was to lay out my dress and to measure from the top of the shoulder till where I wanted the tier to start, the first tier, and mine was 20 inches, which means after sewing, take away about half an inch to an inch, I'll get about 19 inches from the top of my shoulder till the drop waist. Next, I took the other dress that I had lying around, although I'm showing you the same dress, and I cut out the rectangles that will make the tiers. My tiers were about 8-inch long and about 48 to 52 inches widthwise. So this is all the pieces cut out, laid out. I later realized that I didn't have enough to make gathers. I wanted more gathers, so I used the scrap fabric and cut out 2 additional squares that were about 10 inches long to add to the side of the tiers so that I could create more gathers. All your pieces cut out, you need to sew the side seams of the top, and I always pin my sides so that when I'm sewing I get like the neatest possible stitch. I used an overlocker to go over the edges of my side seams to neaten the sides. You could also use a zigzag stitch if you don't have an overlocker. Next, what I did was take the long rectangle tiers and join them to the square pieces. So my top tier was 32 inches and I joined it with an extra 10 inches, and my bottom tier was 42 inches and I joined it with an extra 10 inches. My sewing seam for all the sewing was about half an inch, except for the raw edge at the bottom, which I will show you at the end, which I only used a quarter of an inch. Next, what you want to do is run the tiers under the serger or the overlocker, or you can do a zigzag stitch around it just to clean up the edges, and you'll want to do it on the first tier and the second tier on both the top and the bottom. Begin to sew your basting stitch for gathers. Don't forget to increase the stitch length to the maximum allowed for your sewing machine, and then leave quite a bit of thread at the beginning and the end of the part where you start stitching for the basting stitch. Basting stitch basically allows you to hold one thread, the top thread, and then make your gathers while pulling the bottom thread. A super tedious process, but just bear with it because the end result is always really nice. Once you've done with the making your gathers, you need to carefully place it into the top with the right sides facing each other and then pin them. What I do is I pin the sides first, and then I take the other, like the front and the back, and then after that I go in and pin the sides slowly to sort of, it takes a lot of time, but you sort of need to make sure that the gathers are even all around. And don't forget to readjust your stitch, the stitch length back to 2.4 or 2.5, or the original setting, basic setting stitch, because otherwise once you do a basting stitch around it, you'll have to do this process all over again, because obviously the basting stitch is not going to last. This project took me a good 2 days to finish because, in all honesty, the gathers took me some time, and also I made a few mistakes, but I made the mistakes before stitching. When I was pinning the gathered tier to the top the first time, what I did was I pinned them wrong sides together, and then when I looked at it, when I was going to run it under the sewing machine, I was like, hang on, this is wrong, because if I stitch this, then it's going to be, the good side of the stitch is going to be on the wrong side, so it's just going to look really weird. So but yeah, I guess you really have to be careful before you sew and really think about what you're doing. And if you have to take time, 2 days is not a long time to sew one piece of dress. Before we finish up the sewing, what I usually do is when I have a seam, like a gathered seam on my dress or my top or whatever I'm stitching, I always do an overstitch. I'll show you here. An overstitch is basically sewing on top, very close to that line, as I'm showing you with my nail, and you want to make sure that the seam is pushed towards the top, or towards the top where your head would be or your shoulders would be. So, and then sew right in that ditch where the gathers are. This allows the gathers to lay flat and nice, and it's not all poofy and unprofessional looking. This way, when you sew and you look at your garments look really professionally done, inside and outside, and it makes you feel really nice wearing them. I didn't want this dress to be too short, so at the end of my dress I just went over the whole edge with an overlocker and then did like folded it in about 1/4 of an inch to sew it. And this is the final look, guys. Overall, I am pretty happy with how it turned out. It didn't take very long. It took me 2 days, but then I was only working on it for about, say, 3 to 4 hours a day, so I'm not too upset about that. Thank you for watching, guys, and I am back here on YouTube after a very long time, so I do hope to receive your support. If you did like this video, do give it a thumbs up, and subscribe if you want to see more videos. Hope to post more videos coming soon. I plan to post one video every week, and I have everything on my plan laid out to come back to YouTube and come back with a big bang, essentially. So I'll see you next week, guys. Thanks. Bye.